people think of the word negotiation, I believe that the image that probably pops up for most people is either a bunch of executives wearing business suits in a boardroom conducting $1 million deals, or a hostage negotiator on a telephone calling somebody from inside a house or a bank and trying to save someone's life. I think that negotiations are quite overlooked, in fact, if that is the narrow viewpoint that you're like thinking of. There are so many negotiations that happen in your day-to-day life where you don't even realize you're negotiating, right? It happens all the time with your friends, with your family, right? Your kids, your boss, your spouse, and even with yourself. And the book that I read, which we were going to review today, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, uh, is attempting to prove that. Chris Voss was an FBI hostage negotiator who saved countless lives, including domestic and international terrorists, right? Stopping them, being able to get hostages out of terrible situations. And he relays all of this knowledge that he gained from his experience over the time in the FBI, as well as working as a professor later in life, even where he was able to teach negotiation tactics in business schools, etc. And there's definitely an important aspect to his life and his story, where when he came in to the academic world in the academic space after being a hostage negotiator for the FBI, he was doing great, and he was actually doing better than uh, pretty much all the students and professors there. And the big takeaway is that most of your negotiations are going to be emotional, right? You're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with humans. And we think that negotiation is like this rigid thing, right? That has a specific set of, rules, a specific set of instructions that you follow, right? It's all, the classical thinking is that it's like algorithmic, right? And that's like the academic view as well. When, um, I suppose in more modern times, it's really not. You have to like understand that it's like a very fluid thing, whether it is, you know, trying to save someone's life, or uh, just trying to show somebody your perspective, or maybe having them like pick you for a job, or um, weird to say, have somebody start to like you, like have someone date you, like whatever. Um, or just convincing yourself to do things too, right? Like, how do you negotiate with yourself to be able to improve your life? Uh, and there's just so many steps that you can take, and I think the first step is just implementing some of his processes into your daily interactions. And by doing so, right, he is giving you these tools to make negotiating throughout your daily life fun, right? Anytime you're talking to somebody, anytime you want to go, like, even if it's just to be like, hey, let's go to this restaurant, let's go see this movie or whatever. And if you want like somebody to go with you, you don't just like impose your will on the other person, right? It's more like, uh, my favorite thing that he added was like these how and what questions that you ask people, right? Where it's like you should be seeking to find answers and asking like, what could we do, right? Like, what could I do for you for us to go like see this movie, right? Like, how badly do you want to go see this with me? Like, what, uh, there's just a lot of different things that you can ask. He specifically talks about these calibrated questions, which are, um, essentially in more like strict negotiations, where it's like you're able to like essentially respond to somebody and say no up to 5 times, like without actually saying no, to like be able to like push this person more into the direction of like your quote unquote influence. Um, right. And like once again, giving you these tools is like supposed to make you enjoy getting into these harder to deal with conversations and like higher tension conversations. Uh, right? Like, the benefit of reading something like this is the fact that he was quite literally negotiating for people's lives, and those same tactics that you use in the most extreme circumstances are the same types of tools that you can use in your day to day interactions. He related a lot to just working with his kids and, like, kind of convincing his kids to behave. And part of that is, right, giving other people autonomy. And the autonomy that they get is essentially by, you asking questions and not accusatory questions, which is, right, the how and what questions, and avoiding why, because why is always accusatory for the most part. Um, you can, like, have other people, right, come up with the idea themselves, right? Like, just by searching for these answers, um, being empathetic towards the person across from you, just smiling, right? And also just like practicing smiling all the time. If for nothing else, the fact that it's like when you are negotiating with people, apparently smiling actually is able to like hide um, different negative emotions that might come across your face. So like if you can like smile through it and remain a calm manner, uh, and be comfortable with silence as well, right? And not responding too quick, giving time for the other person to negotiate against themselves, right? Like have time for them to hear themselves and then process more, and then, maybe just like give you a better offer or change their mind just because you sat there calm and they had time to think about it and be like, oh, wait, maybe not. Um, and he always talks about looking out for this thing called the black swan, which is like information that you might not think is relevant but like is, and like be on the lookout for different things, right? There's known unknowns and unknown unknowns, and there are things that you might not even know that you don't know that might help you down the line or help give you leverage later on, right? So at the end of the day, you are negotiating every time you talk to somebody. And if you're dealing with people in most professions, right? Like even in professions where like you're not necessarily like, let's say, like a retail person, or um, working in a restaurant, hospitality, things like that, where you're a salesperson, where you're like directly face to face with people, like most of the time you're gonna have to, you know, like your blue collar stuff, your technicians, you still have to talk to people. You got to talk to your coworkers. You got to talk to your family. Like, and you're gonna need things probably. And the hope is that you are able to, um, respect yourself, be able to set the boundaries that you need to be able to set, uh, and being able to do it respectfully, uh, and also having, right, by like employing like these specific methods, and like acting as though you are like a world class negotiator, like is going to improve your daily life almost immediately. Definitely, like I barely got through any of the book, and he was talking about the tactics to employ, and I like employed them, and like instantly saw returns on the investment of just reading this book. Negotiation happens every single day, every single conversation, even the thoughts within yourself. You're negotiating on what you need to do next. So, um, become a world class negotiator. It's worth doing. This book is worth reading. Never split the difference. Don't compromise. You don't want wimp wins either. You know, like we want to avoid conflict, and like, we assume that there's conflict, but like, you know, it's not the other person that is the conflict. You don't need to be scared of the person across the table from you, you know? Like, yeah, you're negotiating with them, but they're not the problem. The issue that you are trying to make a compromise for is the problem. And if you can recognize that there is this third thing that you are both trying to, advocate towards and for, then you can be more calm and rational when you're like actually talking to the person across from you. Right? Separate them from the situation and still find the means to treat them as though they have emotions and that they are human, and that, you know, we get irrational and we're going to act a certain way, especially when we're told to do certain things, and we're going to push back and fight and demand, certain things. But when we're like shown that we're important and, the other person is listening, oftentimes we're like willing to open up and share and be vulnerable, um, and negotiate and compromise and push, right? So the hope is that not only do you learn to compromise, but like you do it so well that like you get everything you're asking for and more. Um, Most of the time, other people are happy to give it to you. You just have to have the courage to ask, hold your ground, and practice, 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 right? Set your anchors at an extreme point, and just hold on for dear life. And it's good, It's like, I would give it, I don't know, a 10 out of 10. But most of these books that I give, that I review on this channel, are 10 out of 10 books. Uh, just because I think that most of the things that I read are valuable, right? I try not to read things that I don't think are going to provide some sort of value in, gaining new perspective, as the channel would suggest. I think that is probably it for this episode. My name is Wild Will. This has been A New Lens. If you like this, please subscribe. We're going to do more book clubs like these, and plenty more episodes to come. I'll see you next week.